Hey guys, it's Jim. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for coming back to my channel. I appreciate it. This episode in my Cityscapes tutorial series is all about neon, and especially neon at night, because while you can shoot neon during the day, it doesn't show up so well because it's probably not turned on. And so I love shooting neon signs. In fact, I like signs and graffiti and all that kind of stuff pretty much any time, but in particular at night. And you know, it just looks great, I think. I love city lights, and neon is just fabulous. And so I'm gonna go ahead and dive into this photo here. Now, this is the Moulin Rouge in Paris, and this is a 6-second exposure. This is a windmill, and it's got four sort of little, blades, if you will, that are lit up. And that's why I did a 6-second exposure, because this thing is rotating kind of slowly. And so I wanted to blur that out and make it look like it's spinning fast. And that's something I like to try to do, is create a sense of motion if I can. And I was kind of lucky in that at the same time, as you can see, there's some light trails here. There's a car or two went by, because this is sort of a busy street in front of the Moulin Rouge there in Paris. And so let me see, I shot this at f/18. And so I knew it was a pretty tight aperture because I got this starburst effect here on the lights, which you can get if you're shooting at a pretty tight aperture in low light. And so that's sort of how I shot the thing. Now, what I want to do is, in looking at the photo, to me, it's a little off balance. It was shot, I think it was, what did it say, 24 millimeters? Yeah, 24 millimeters. So while that's not really wide, it's kind of a mid-range. My wide-angle lens is a 16 to 35, so it's kind of in the middle, if you will, of that range. But it's wide enough that it looks like the buildings are kind of leaning back from you, kind of like they're back on their heels, and I don't want that. And so I've got the raw file here. So if you look here, you can see there it is, ARW. I can not remember the three letters, but that's a raw file for my Sony camera. So having said that, I'm going to start with the raw develop filter. Another way to know that it's a raw file is that the filter is called raw develop if you have a raw file, and if you don't, it'll just say develop. So I'm going to use that, and it's got a number of things in it that I'm going to use here. I'm also going to use color balance and color temperature, and that's really it. I'm going to use 3 filters, and I find, there's 50 filters. I'm trying to close that thing. There's 50 filters in Luminar, as I'm sure you know if you have it. If you don't, get a copy, or I've got a link down below. You can download a free trial as well from the MacFun/Skylum website. But there's 50 filters, and it's really tempting to just stick more on there and do more stuff. And believe me, I do that all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes it's great to keep it simple. And when I've got a night scene, I find that I don't have quite as much I want to do. I want to do some stuff sometimes with the contrast and the light, which is what I'm going to use raw develop for, and then colors and sort of the overall temperature or feel, which is really what color balance and color temp are going to do for me. And yes, I am aware that color temp is in the raw develop filter, but I've also got it again, and it's because I'm sort of doing it twice. And so let's jump into the raw develop filter. The first thing I want to do is go to transform, and this is the leaning back building thing I was talking about. I'm going to adjust the verticals here, and I think it's something about, I got to look at my notes here, something about like that. Aspect ratio is -29. I'm sort of stretching it out a little bit, and then I'm going to scale it by a factor of 2 or so, so not a lot. But the big thing is going to come with the Y offset, and so that just scoots it down along the Y axis. I say that wrong sometimes. Let's see here. Where do I want to go? I think about like that. Nope, not quite that far. So about there. And so there you go. I've basically realigned the photo. Let me show you the before and the after. I think that looks a whole lot better. But as you can see, there's a little bit of gray on the top and the bottom and along these edges. So that's where the crop tool comes in. And that's my next step. And by the way, 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.5 times out of 10, I do these sort of adjustments first. Sometimes I'll do a crop, if crop is the only thing I'm doing. Sometimes I'll do that at the very end. Like if I decide that I want to do sort of a cinematic look and do a 16:9 ratio, I'll do that at the end. But definitely transforming the verticals and that sort of thing, I'll do that at the beginning, and usually that leads me to needing to crop, and therefore I'll do that at the beginning as well. So I'm going to put a 3:2 ratio on this, which is what it was shot in. And basically what I'm doing is I'm moving this around, kind of, I don't know what the word is. I'm going to say swizzle I'm sure that's not the right word, but I'm just realigning this photo. I want to make sure this text that says the ticket office here on the right-hand side of the frame is included, so I don't want to crop it out because I like that text. It's part of the signage, which I like. I'm a little bit less interested in some of the stuff over here on the left. And in fact, just outside of my crop frame, you can see there's a street light. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. So I think that I might even go a little bit tighter. I think something about like that. I kept the top of that building in, and I think that's all good. So I'm going to say done. And there, I've cropped my photo. So let me show you the before and the after. I think we got a great starting point. So I'm going to jump into the editing, and I'm going to start in the adjust slider, or excuse me, adjust panel of the raw develop filter. And the first thing I'm going to do is go way down in the color temperature. So let's see, something about maybe about there. No, maybe a little bit more. Something like that. I'm going to leave, actually, you know what? I'm going to leave tint about where it is. I think that's fine. So next I'm going to stick some contrast on here. Not too much, about like that, and a little clarity as well, just to give it a little bit of that sort of richer feel. And let me show you the before and after. There's the before and there's the after. And truthfully, you could be done. I'm not, only because I like to play with the colors a little bit more, but you can see that the power of the raw develop filter, you can really come a long way in just a short couple of minutes. But being who I am and what I like to do, I'm not quite finished. I want to do a little bit more color work, so that's where color balance comes in. I love color balance. It's incredibly powerful. I use it on so many photos, and particularly at night. If you notice in the original, there's a lot of red here. If you've seen this, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the wheel, or excuse me, the blades on the windmill are red. You know, these lights in front here are red. This stuff is all red. And so showing you the original, you can see this really orangey red glow all across the photo. So I'm trying to reverse that, and I think I've done a good job so far, but I'm going to use color balance to get me a little bit further. So I'm going to start with shadows, and so these are going to be, of course, the darker parts of the image, and I'm going to go away from red more towards the cyan here. And then on the yellows and blues, the yellows I'm going to go a little bit to the right, something about like that. Let me show you the before and the after. Also sort of has an impact of darkening some of this outer frame, which I kind of like. I want to really focus in on the center of the image, really, for lack of a better word. Now in midtones, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to do a negative here, something about like that, and a positive on this one, something about like that. So I think that looks good. Let me show you the before, which frankly I think looked good, but now that you compare it to this, you can see I've really brought up more of those blues. And so again, before the color balance filter and after. Very different in feel, and this is what I'm getting at, really. I'm trying to get to where I don't have as much red in it. Red's an important part and an important color here. I want the windmill part to stay red, so I don't want to lose all of the red, but there's too much afterglow, or whatever you call it. The red sort of reflecting on the buildings and all that, and I'm trying to get rid of it. And the last thing is just a little bump in color temp here, and that's, again, just personal preference, going a little bit to the left. And that's just creating a little bit more blue here in the street as well. So there's the before and the after, just slightly cooler overall. And that's really about it. There's the before and the after. So I think we've come a long way. And for me, it's really, when I'm shooting neon, it's about a couple of things. Number one, I want to look at the lights. You know, this is spinning. And this was spinning too. And so my intent, of course, was to keep this spinning. Now, if I really wanted to, I could have shot one really quick and masked in this one frozen, but I'm way too lazy for that. I don't even remember what it says. It's not a big deal to me, but something to think about. So if you have moving parts, especially if you have more than one, you might want to take multiple frames in case you want to blend in a non-moving part of that. I definitely wanted this to be moving. The other thing I think about is sort of the overall color scheme. Very yellowy, orange, red kind of tone overall. And to me, this is a better look. Probably not exactly how I saw it, to be honest. I don't remember. It wasn't that red. A lot of that is because there's so much red light coming off these, and it's a long exposure of 6 seconds. And so it's, for lack of a better word, that red is just, infusing all over the photo. I wanted to correct that, and I think I did a good job there and brought in some blues. personally, I also just don't want a photo to be pretty much all red yellow. I want to have sort of a mix of colors because I like my color. And also, if you look here, this painting down here, it may have been red. I don't really know. I mean, in the original, it looks kind of reddish, but it's hard to tell. But now it's picking up a little bit more of a purpley pink look, which I kind of like. Again, it's sort of a different play of color, and I like that. And so that's really all that I do here. One more time, the before and the after. Now, as I said, there's 1,000 or 1,000,000 or whatever things you could do. Something else that might look cool is to make it a black and white and just do the Moulin Rouge, the tower here with the windmill in red. That would be pretty cool. Something else to think about. But that's my workflow for this, and some things to think about when you're shooting neon at night. And I've got some other neon signs that I shot that I may do a video. If you want to see that, let me know. And if you haven't yet, leave a comment or subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends as well. All that helps, and I appreciate it. So thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time, and adios.